Welcome to this overview video about PXF ID defocus. Note that Pixelfudger 3 now includes 3 defocus nodes. We have ID focus for defocuses based on random images. There's Z defocus based on depth, and deep defocus based on deep images, deep image inputs. So there's going to be a separate video for Z and deep defocus. This video is about I defocus. So why do we need I defocus? Let's have a look. I've got an image here. I would like to have a lot of defocus or lots of blur at the top and less blur towards the middle here. I've made myself a little alpha channel to describe just that. And let's look at what happens if we don't use I defocus. So if we just use a regular defocus node, I'm gonna connect it to my image, crank up the value. Here we go. So now we've got a defocus. I want lots at the top and less in the middle. I'm gonna connect the mask input here, and you can see it's not giving me what I want. Instead of giving me a big defocus at the top and smaller defocus in the middle, I've got the same size everywhere, and it's the opacity that's being varied by the ramp, and that's not what I want. Same problem if I have a blur node and I try the same thing. If I mask it, same problem. Instead of having a blur that goes smaller and smaller and smaller towards the middle, I've got a blur that's becoming more and more transparent. That's not cool. If I want to solve that problem, I could use the built-in Z defocus node, not the PXF one. But that node is very overkill for a simple gradient. There's a lot of knobs here. You got to shuffle your in my case, my ramp, I would need to shuffle it into some utility channel like forward, the forward layer or something like that. It's not that user friendly. And also if I want a variable blur, this will not do it. This will only give me a variable defocus or variable convolve. So you could achieve some sort of success with this, but it's not very user friendly. Let's have a look at PXF ID defocus instead. So let's bring that up. I'm going to create a new PXF ID defocus, connect it to my image, and connect the map to my ramp. Here we go. Let's switch that to a defocus filter so it's easier to see and make it bigger. There we go. So now we can see that we're getting a variable size instead of variable opacity. So my defocus is big at the top and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So internally, what's happening is I defocus is creating 10 different defocuses. This is user adjustable. So it's creating 10 different defocuses and blending them together with key mixes. So let's go through the various knobs here. First, we can choose which filter we want to use. So we can use a Gaussian filter, which would be a variable blur. We've got the other filters from the blur node as well. So box, triangle, quadratic, and Gaussian again. We can also use the defocus filter, which internally uses the Nuke defocus filter. And bokeh is using convolve nodes under the hood using the new GPU accelerated versions here. So bokeh will use a custom bokeh shape, which you can customize in the bokeh tab. So you can have whichever type of bokeh you want. So if I want, let's say, a 5-bladed aperture or a 3-bladed aperture, I can do that. Let's go back to 5, for example. I can make it more donuts or less donuts, whatever I want. To view the actual bokeh shape, you can click on View Bokeh here, and that's going to give you the actual bokeh kernel, and you can customize the shape and pretty much everything about it. I'm not going to go through every knob here. Each knob should have a tooltip, so if you're not sure what the particular knob does, you can look at the tooltips. If you cannot customize the bokeh to your liking and you need something very specific that you cannot achieve with the bokeh tab here, you can use your own using the bokeh input. So now there's a bokeh input here. You connect a custom image, Here I've made a little B for a demo, and you can see my bokeh now is using my own custom image instead of the one generated internally. Let's go back to the main ID focus tab. Control channel is which channel from the map input you're using to drive the amount of defocus. You can choose between alpha and red, green, and blue. Size is obviously the size of the defocus, so if you need more or less blur, you would put that up there. So if we put 100, then it's going to get real blurry. All right. Aspect is if you want to emulate an anamorphic lens. So if you set the aspect to 0.5, you will have ovals instead of circles. Slices is the amount of slices. So internally what's happening is we're building 10 defocus nodes and we're combining them together using key mixes. If you want to see the slices more easily, you can turn off or turn down the overlap all the way down to 0. And now we can see the lines where the slices start and finish. So if we need more precision, we could create more slices. So now the slices are thinner, or we could go faster for faster rendering with just 5 slices. Obviously, we don't want to have hard edges between the slices. So to hide the seams, we can increase the overlap. The overlap is in percentage. So if we set the overlap to 0.1, then 10% of the width of the slice will be for overlap. So if I set it to 0.5, then there's going to be a lot of overlap between the slices. If you have double values on top of each other, you need more slices. So let's crank up the amount of slices here. So that's overlap. Slice gamma, let's bring the overlap down again, is how we're going to spread our slices. Do we want an even spread, meaning each slice is the same thickness, or do we want more slices in the small values and less slices in the big values? So if you want all the slices to be the same, you would set slice gamma down to 1. Now every slice is identical in width, and if you set the slice gamma to a value above 1, for example 3, then you're going to have more slices in the small values and less slices in the big values. So it's a way to optimize the amount of slices. The default value of 2.2 is usually a good compromise, with some overlap, of course. Finally, we have a mix input here where you can blend between your result and the original, like most mix knobs. And we have a mask input, not to be confused with the map input. The mask input enables you to limit the effect to some area of the frame. So if you have, for some reason, the need to limit the effect to some area, you can use the mask input. So there you go. This was an overview of PXF ID defocus. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.